So today we're going to share with you 4 more practical and really simple ways that are applicable to children of all ages, um, even young adults, so that we can all foster their self-esteem a bit more and expand and build upon their confidence. So last week, I'm just going to recap the strategies that we shared with you. And if you did not get a chance to view them, please go back and view this. It was our live from 2 weeks ago. But we discussed one way to raise your child's self-esteem is to connect with your child first. Again, we always want to focus on the relationship we have with our children. That is the very first step. If that's not done, nothing else will work. 2 is normalize and embrace their struggles and mistakes. That is going along with Carol Dweck's philosophy of a growth mindset. And 3 is to praise effort and not outcome. Again, sort of a continuation of her work there. And then today we're going to share with you 4 more ways. So this is really important for us to address because in our community, our neurodiverse community, right, these kids feel a lot of pressure to conform and to perceive typical norms to avoid other people's perceptions, right? They feel they're trying to mask the entire time. They're always under a lot of pressure to sort of quote unquote fit in, to not stand out, right? And often we use words, the terminology that's used to describe students that are neurodiverse usually have the word deficit in front or disabled, right? And society may assume or perceive their functioning as being flawed, right? And so we really work on, even though society tries to not send that message, the message is being received by these students. And it takes a lot of our support and the words that we use and communicate with them to really untangle all those feelings. It's especially important for us to build our children's, those that are neurodiverse, their self-worth and perception about themselves. So this is why we are having 2 weeks of this discussion and this theme. All right, so let's dive in. Let's get started. So the first way, we want to encourage independence and responsibility. So that is, and there's a book out now called, I think it's called Hunt, Gather, Parent. And apologies, I'm blanking on the author. A great book she's an anthropologist. She goes in and talks about all the different ways that other cultures are building children's independence and responsibility, and how they're doing it, and how the Western society is so different from these other societies. And she gives really practical ways for us to improve things at home. And it will make us think about what are the messages that we're sending our kids just by our daily interactions with them that we don't even notice. When I heard her on a podcast and I was reflecting back, and I did several of the things that she was mentioning. And so it really gave me some food for thought to sort of rethink and try to change at least some of the habits that I have. So we want to give them age-appropriate tasks. This is going to boost their self-esteem. It's going to promote a sense of competence because they're doing something, a sense of autonomy. They're doing something independently and in their own way. And it's going to help them to feel good to contribute to others, right, and their family. And it's important for them to get that sense that they are contributing and that they are part of this family, and that what they do and how they help matters to the family unit. So some ways that we subtly erode doing this in the Western culture is by shooing them away from the kitchen. Okay, get out of the kitchen. We don't have space here. You're making a mess. Get out, right? Making decisions for them without asking for their input. So you're going to join a violin class without, again, asking for their input. Not giving them chores or responsibilities. So you doing it all or paying for help to do this all for them. Whether that's doing their bed, their laundry, feeding the dogs, walking the dogs outside, putting their clothes away, simple chores that they could do that other people are doing for them, and fixing every chore that they do around the house. So that is not how we wash the dishes, or that's not how we fold the shirts, and then you just stepping in it or having someone else step in and doing it for them. these are ways that we erode. There are many more ways, but these are subtle ways that we erode their self-esteem and their confidence. Some ways that we could encourage the development here is by giving them opportunities to make decisions, even small ones. So it doesn't have to be a big decision that they make, but you can just ask them, like, what would you pick out your outfit today? Who cares how they look as long as it's appropriate? Let them choose their outfit. Let them choose their snacks. Give them an option of maybe 5 healthy snacks they can choose at the grocery store. Let them choose. Let them choose maybe a weekend outing with the family or the movie you guys are going to watch together. Give them small decisions to make. This is going to show them to trust themselves, help them practice making decisions, and help them kind of weigh out pros and cons and reason. And no, okay, so yeah, that's just a great way for you guys to work on supporting their independence and responsibility. We've seen here sometimes at We Thrive Learning, we get young adults, teenagers that come in and they can't make decisions for themselves. And so that's something we really work upon here. It's helping these students, these kids, trust themselves and to make a decision. And whether or not they consider it the right or wrong decision, to know that there's always a way for them to pivot and to work through whatever decision they've decided. And to always ask for support if needed. Now that we're on the topic, though, we are a educational therapy and ADHD student private coaching practice. So we work with students one-on-one. We work with them on learning interventions. So if your child is having difficulty learning at school, if things are taking them longer to do than a neuro or other peers in their class, if you are noticing that their grades are not reflective of the effort that they're putting in, or if they're just failing every class or feeling really scattered, these are students that we support in developing not just their learning, we teach them learning interventions, but also their independence and self-advocacy skills. And we also support ADHD. So if your child has ADHD, we know the ins and outs of ADHD. This is the work that we do. So we blend coaching techniques. So coaching with educational therapy and learning techniques, which makes our practice so unique and special and really drives that transformation that we promote and fund for students. So if this sounds like your child could benefit from our support, please visit wethrive.learning.com. I would love to chat with you and learn about your child, right? Hear about the support of what your child's going through. See if this teach you about or talk to you about our approach, and then see if this approach would work. It doesn't work for all students, and if it doesn't work for us, or if I don't think we'd be a good fit, I will refer you to another clinician or a professional who I think would be a better fit for your child or a resource to give you. So please reach out to us. It doesn't hurt. I'd love to get in touch with you all. So the second, and again, that's wethrive.learning.com. Thank you. So the second way for us to promote independence and self-esteem is by modeling good self-esteem ourselves. And I'm faulty of this. I'm working on it a ton, but we all are really hard on ourselves, right? And our children are constantly watching us. They watch how we talk to ourselves. If we're self-critical, they internalize that same behavior, right? We are their biggest role model, even for your teenagers. Even if it doesn't feel like you are their biggest role model. They are constantly watching everything that we do, even though we think that we're being ignored. And they're listening to us, believe it or not. So show them what compassion looks like. Right now in the world that we live in, unfortunately, there's a lot of body dysmorphia going on. Lots of kids are really struggling with this on social media. Also perfectionist tendencies, which again goes with body dysmorphia, but kids who are really striving to be perfect, to get 100%, and anything less than 100% of the class is not acceptable, to be in all AP classes and taking college courses after school and be part of a sports team and run a club and volunteer, and the list goes on and on. So again, we're seeing a lot of pressure under these kids. We want to show them what self-compassion looks like. So some ways that we can model or promote unhealthy self-esteem is by really putting a ton of pressure on these students to get the grades, the perfect grades, right? To be a part of everything, to have banners on our walls of Ivy Leagues, because that sends the message that those are the schools that we acknowledge. Those are the schools that we really admire. And anything less than that is unacceptable. Putting their grades on the refrigerator, for example, a perfect score on the refrigerator, criticizing yourself all the time, getting upset with yourself, and for you, yourself, sending them the message that you are trying to be perfect, whether that's at work, at home as a parent, as your physical appearance, etc. Right? So I know this is hard. It's something we're all working on because we all want to be the best version of ourselves. And it's also important to model self-compassion for ourselves so that our children learn how to be self-compassionate. So ways you can model self-esteem. Healthy self-esteem is by saying positive things for yourself to yourself out loud. I'm really proud about how I handled that situation, or I'm really proud about how I responded to that email or asked for that promotion, even though I was really worried. Accept who you are with compassion and kindness, like fully accept who you are, and learn to apologize to yourself when you catch yourself being too critical. So learn to reframe yourself, especially if you're striving for that perfectionism. Again, too, if this is something that you really feel speaks to you because you are trying to be perfect, we suggest getting support yourself for this so that your children benefit and reap the goods from seeing a therapist yourself for this type of support. And then lastly, oh no, we got two more. We want to teach so some ways for you to teach self-compassion. So treat your child how to treat themselves with kindness, right? Help them. Wait, this is our third strategy. I'm sorry, I'm looking at our plans. This is our third strategy. So we want to teach your child how to be self-compassionate with themselves. So help them to embrace mistakes and setbacks. This is really important. And again, for you to embrace mistakes and setbacks yourself and model how you do this, your child will organically pick up on this. We don't, it's not natural to celebrate the mistake, but we do want to tell them that mistakes is part of learning. It's accepted and it's expected. And if we're not making mistakes or challenging ourselves, our brain is actually not learning, right? So we're wasting our time. And so making mistakes is not a good thing. I mean, it is a good thing, but it's showing us that we're learning. Guide them to talk to themselves with self-compassion. So if you hear them being self-critical, and we do all the time, right? Call out that negative Nancy. Tell them ask them, how would you respond to a friend going through that would talk to themselves in this way? If they are talking to themselves negatively about something that happened, ask them, how would your friend handle the situation differently? Or what would you like to see your friend do? So that way they hold up a mirror for themselves and they can say, okay, what can I do differently? How can I talk with myself with more grace? Some ways you can encourage this is again by holding up a mirror to them. So call out that negative Nancy. Hey, I'm hearing that negative tone come out of you. Name it. Some kids have a lot of fun in naming their negative Nancy, right? So they give it a separate persona, and they name that persona. And ask them, what would you tell me if I was going through that situation? How would you want me to talk to myself? All of these questions and these strategies really hold up a mirror for them to help them be much more self-aware of how they're talking to themselves, because oftentimes, and we are culprits of this too, we do not realize how we talk to ourselves. So if we had a record that was recording our thoughts, would you be proud of the way that record replayed your thoughts? That will give you sort of a guide to see if you're talking to yourself with enough self-compassion, or would you be proud if your children heard that record being played? And then lastly, we want to teach them how to deal with setbacks. This is an essential life skill. All of these are, but this one is essential, and it's especially important once they go to college. Your child will not get these perfect grades all the time. Don't expect that. And expect them to make mistakes and expect them to have several setbacks. We know that life is bumpy and there are curveballs being thrown at us every season. And part of being and dealing and managing life confidently is learning how to bounce back from setbacks, right? We want to teach them how to be resilient. So encourage problem solving skills. Ask them to think about solutions and obstacles to the problems that they have, right? Let's discuss plan A, plan B. What are the pros? What are the cons of things? Ask them to think about different solutions and what could come in the way of those solutions. Help them or guide them, collaborate with them, brainstorm on selecting one solution, then support them in creating a plan for how they're going to handle the situation, and then also support their problem solving. This is going to give your child a sense of control, knowing that they have a plan, that they have a plan B, that, things are really well thought out for them, that they're making an informed and reasonable decision. And it's going to build their confidence to overcome this challenge and future challenges. So this, again, I can't say this enough. This is really important. Whether this be for choosing a college, choosing a class, dating someone, making financial decisions, etc. This is probably one of the most important skills we can teach our children. All right, so we've talked about, we shared with you 3 ways in 2 weeks ago in our discussion live from 2 weeks ago. This time we discussed to encourage independence and responsibilities by giving them chores and age-appropriate tasks, to model self-esteem for yourself, to encourage them to be self-compassionate with themselves, and to teach them how to cope with setbacks so that they build resiliency for life. All right, again, if you are looking for one-on-one support with an educational therapist or an ADHD coach, please visit WeThriveLearning.com. I would love to get in touch with you.